We've probably already had like half of the people hit back button by now. I talk about what I want to because it's my channel, dag nabbit. What's up, everybody? Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today we're checking out the new Chelsea Grin, Origin of Sin. That rolls off the tongue. That is nice to say. Now I'm excited to talk about this one because Chelsea Grin has had a lot of changes over time. Their sound has changed dramatically. My Damnation was one of my favorite deathcore songs back in the day, and of course, you know, they've got a new vocalist now. They've got Tom Barber, and they've got a very different sound, so I'm excited to see where this goes. Now, just a preamble for anybody, I'm currently very ill. I know it doesn't sound or look a whole like it. Well, maybe my eyes. But that's because I try to turn on the pep for all of you when I do these videos, but I do not feel good. I've had a dry cough due to my heart medication for a while, and I just feel very dizzy. So I'm going to be holding off on the vocals today. If you would like to hear me do vocals and give examples of what the vocalist is doing or how I would approach it, because I do vocals differently than some other vocalists, there are literally hundreds of videos. I've done multiple videos on Tom Barber's voice before. If you would like that, but I'm still going to give you vocal insight. We're still going to talk about vocal technique and break it down because I am a metal vocalist myself. I'm in a band called Kardashev, been doing metal vocals for roughly 13 years. And I'm also a vocal coach, specifically teaching people how to make all these gritty, gurgly, nasty sounds. It's what I do for a full-time job. It's awesome. I love it. So we're going to talk about some vocals. We're going to talk about what he's doing. We're going to talk about the approach. If you like the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. My brain is running at like half efficiency right now. And if you really enjoy the content, do check us out on Patreon. We've got an ever-growing community. That's a lot of fun. I've recently been memed in our Discord community. So there's Mork, who is Mark but an orc, and there's this person who has declared themselves the high priest of Mork, and it's this whole, basically they're just trolling me nonstop, and they've created their own thread in Discord, and it's hilarious. So come check it out. It's a good time. But beyond that, let's go ahead. Let's get started. Let's just jump into it because I don't really feel that great. So I'm kind of ready to get this video out for all of you and then go to bed. So this is Chelsea Grin, Origin of Sin. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause there because the song is pretty intense and we've already exactly a minute. So let's talk about a couple things that are really cool. First and foremost, I think, you know, obviously Tom Barber gets a lot of recognition, but when it comes to deathcore vocalists, he's one of my favorites. And even if, you know, Chelsea Grin or Darko releases a song that maybe like it's not like necessarily like my favorite song I've ever heard, I still always enjoy listening to his vocals for a couple of reasons. Number one, I really like the way he shifts resonance. I really like the way he utilizes his mouth and utilizes his tongue to create new vocal tones and new vocal spaces without putting a lot of work on his throat, right? So one thing I can show you, I'm going to avoid some vocals, but one thing I can show you is that he's basing some of his sounds on a very arytenoidal positioning. Now I'm going to do the low level, like basic sound that builds into a scream. So it's not going to sound exactly like a scream here, but if I do like this, like it gets you that really low clicky sound. And essentially what we're doing, you can build on this multiple ways, right? You can build on it from a false chord. You can build on it from a fry, honestly, because eventually what we're doing is we're taking the arytenoid cartilages, which are kind of in the back of your larynx, you know, connected to the vocal folds. When your vocal folds open and close, your arytenoids are moving as well. You can actually take those and bring them together and create this like, oh, like that sort of sound. And when you isolate your that distortion, removing your voice from it, you get this. That's pretty much how I do all my lows. And again, if you want examples of what that sounds like in a full bore scream, check out many of my other videos that I have up here. But it's a really great way to do it. It's hard to move that into a high vocal sometimes because everything in the larynx will sort of smush. But it's a really great tone, and it's a very low effort tone once you get it right. And so he's being smart. He's being smart using that. I also really like the way he layers. I will be honest with you. Sometimes, you know, one of the sort of icons, one of the sort of the markers of deathcore as a style is lots of vocal layers. And I'm not against that. I've used a lot of vocal layers before. It's something I've done very frequently. But sometimes I hear, you know, a deathcore song and it's just a mass of vocal layers for the sake of being a mass of vocal layers. There's a time and a place for that. But with him, I hear him doing it very strategically. I hear him utilizing different timbres. So he's got like something really low and concise and dare I say compressed. Then he'll have something more loose and open, then something more high and heady, and then something more in that mid-range to really flesh out that wall of sound in a vocal setting. And I think that kind of separates for me when I enjoy tons and tons of vocal layers and when I don't. Like if you're just layering, if you're just doing nine or 10 vocal tracks for the sake of doing 9 or 10 vocal tracks, like, listen, gain what you need to out of your music, but it's not going to jive very well with a lot of people, with me especially. Not that I'm the standard by which you should write. You should write the music that you love for yourself. But yeah, so there's that lisinopril cough. Hell yeah. I'm getting my meds changed on Monday. That'll be great. So anyway, I really appreciate the way that he is. I really appreciate the way that he is utilizing layers and utilizing distortion. It sounds like if I was to be in the studio with him, much of these vocals would be very relaxed, and we see that in a lot of his like the Insects playthrough, right? If you've never seen Tom Barber kind of like perform, go watch Darko Insects, I think is the name of the song. He is so chill and so relaxed, and you can hear that through his vocals here. I'm going to pause it again because I don't care. I love Tom Barber's highs so much. Like when it comes to metal vocals, high vocals are some of my favorite. And I don't know why. I love gutturals, I love lows, I love mids, but give me like a nice crispy, give me a high vocal that hits like McDonald's Sprite, and I'm gonna be in love with you as a vocalist. And it's not just the tone, it's the way he talks or the way he articulates the tone. So, you know, he'll end a word with yeah, and he'll chew on the tone, and it makes it very, very expressive. And that's something that I think personally, as a metal vocalist, is important to think about, right? Now, again, this is just my opinion. This is just what I like to hear. But we have a very maximal style, right? As metal vocalists, we have a maximal style. We're basically going 100% all the time. And that can get a little bit boring unless we find ways to add nuance, right? Sometimes the way we add nuance is the way we interact with a song, right? One of my favorite vocalists is James Martin of Aegean. And he pretty much just does one sound all the time, but he interplays with the song so well that it stays interesting and you actually love it, and you don't want him to deviate because it's so powerful, because he knows when to scream and when not to. With Tom, he is such a master of timbre and utilizing his vowel formants, right? Utilizing those vowel shapes. I'm going to go back, and I want you to literally hear how it almost sounds like the high vocals, he's chewing on them as they leave his mouth. And this was a big thing with deathcore early on, like a very Trevor Strnad sound, or I should say approach to articulating highs. Early Suicide Silence, Mitch Lucker era Suicide Silence as well. Let's go back and let's hear that, because that is very cool, very cool. I also love the colors of this video. I know I made the playful dig about the shoes, but that's just I was just being playful. This video overall, I think is really lovely color wise. Yeah, especially this shot, the blues and the greens. That's lovely. And then here we have like the oranges. It's awesome. Here we go. That's cool. That's like kind of retro. Whoa. I mean, I don't know. I've heard him do this before, but for some reason it's sticking out. So this is really cool. He has no issue introducing both false chord and fry sounds. He's not worried about it, right? And a lot of the way that you're going to be able to move between those sounds is by relaxation. Now, I don't know, you know, how they tracked things out. I don't know how they're recorded, but like, listen to these highs, these very Trevor Strnad. I know I'm referencing him a lot, but I mean, it's applicable. And listen, listen to these high vocals here, and you can hear that strong fry influence. And then he goes into these false chord vocals, which these false chord vocals are super, super retro, right? Like, you don't really hear a lot of this like breathy or low false chord sound as much now. And I think that's another thing I really appreciate about Tom as a vocalist as well, is like, he doesn't, like, I've never spoken to him. I don't know this for a fact, but the way he delivers his vocals, it makes me think he doesn't give a shit about the vocal meta, like, at all. I've talked about before when I did the response to insects, right? When I did the response to insects, I talked about how his lows were, his lows purposefully didn't have like this thick low end, although he clearly can do that. We've heard him do it many times, but it was just like this part of the song where it was lows forward, but the lows were very clicky and thin. And at the time, I remember a big thing on the internet was essentially like, you know, your lows have to have this thick, wide body to them. And he was just like, nah, I think this sounds cool. And I love that. Here he's doing a very old school, open, breathy, like 90s death metal false chord, and I think it's killer. Like, I absolutely love it. So listen to this transition here, and then we'll keep going. That's a really good example of that layering that I was talking about. Listen to how when he like spits out that last syllable, he's got a very high, thin, a very like bright and thin, I should say, high vocal, and then he's got like a more like a wide mid vocal that's a little cracklier underneath it. You know, I don't know if he did that on purpose, but I am inclined to think he did, because it comes across as quite intentional. Check this out. Listen to this last spit vocal. Also, I really like this alien. You know, obviously I don't know the story of this alien. He kind of reminds me of Hugh from Star Trek The Next Generation. If you know, you know. Which Hugh was a great character. Brief character, but great character. Anyways, here we go. So that's a really good example of the vowel move, or the resonance movements that I was talking about. So he has his high vocals, which it would be a bad idea for me to do a high vocal right now, so I'm not going to, but I do a lot of high vocals in my other videos, so you can check those out. But his high vocals are very up here, and that is one of the most common ways to place and aim your high vocals, fry or false chord. It's not the only way, it's not the definitive way, but very much up here. Right? And when we do that, we're creating a slight closure of space in like the back top of the pharynx, but the throat itself is still open. Now here, and then he goes into that like kind of like low, crackly, like arytenoidal mid, and that is very back. I don't know why I'm doing Halo, but I am, right? So he's moving from that to and resonant shifts are very, very important if you're going to be a deathcore vocalist, especially a deathcore vocalist who's very focused on very technique heavy technical vocals, you're going to need to understand, you're going to want to understand what it's like to move those vowels around. Now, admittedly, you can do that on your own. A lot of people can learn that on their own, or that maybe, you know, with a coach such as myself or others in a lesson. That part's up to you. But learning what it means to shift your resonance, how you shift your resonance, and getting kind of a handle on vowel formants, what they are. Also frequencies, understanding your voice as a stack of frequencies, right? If you want to get more of a whistly tone or more of like an overtone in there, how do you cut out the low end to let the higher tones sort of ring and chime through? Interesting things to know. I'm going to put it back, and I want you to listen to that. Again, I'm doing them quietly today. That like really open sound in the back, shifting right off of that high. Again, I don't know how he tracked it out. They're probably on separate tracks, but it'd be really cool to see him make this shift live, because it would sound awesome. Let's go. One thing that I really want to point out here that I really press upon a lot of my students is that, you know, never underestimate the importance of an even airflow, right? Never underestimate the importance of an even airflow. One thing I see, and by the way, I do not think that everybody needs vocal lessons. I really don't. I think a lot of people self-teach and self-teach well, you know, but a lot of people, I will say that oftentimes when I have self-taught vocalists who are amazing and do very, very well, when they come to me, one of the things I can almost always assume with accuracy, like 95% of the time, is that their airflow is going to be kind of a mess, right? Not to the degree that it necessarily impacts the way that they can record, but it may impact the way that they can perform. Because, you know, being in front of a mic is a very different experience. There goes my puppy. Being in front of a mic is a very different experience from being... I'm sorry, being in front of a studio mic is very different than being in front of a performance mic, right? And many of us have, myself included, written vocal parts that we then couldn't perform, so we had to either rewrite it or learn to perform it. So when I say an even airflow, I don't necessarily mean being able to hold your scream as long as you can. I personally think, like, you know, 30 and 45-second screams are cool, but unless that's like your whole shtick, it's a cool thing to pull out every once in a while to get the crowd going. And like, listen, if I see a band and he holds a 30-second scream, you're gonna see me being pumped as hell because it's cool, right? However, you know, that is not the make or break of a vocalist. The make or break of a vocalist is how they can keep their airflow even throughout articulation, right? Am I able to keep an even airflow while moving my mouth, especially like he did here in very quick articulative movements? So one thing that can help is just kind of a shift of the mindset. Rather than thinking of each word as its individual scream, like the first thing I am thinking of is the first line of Rap God, right? Summa lumma duma lumma, you assume I'm a human, right? Okay, cool, great. Rather than thinking of that as all these words that I have to string together, summa lumma duma lumma, you assume I'm a human. I'm probably getting the lyrics wrong, but it doesn't matter. That's not really what I'm doing. I have this underneath, and my mouth is just shaping that airflow, that sound as it comes out. Summa lumma duma lumma, you assume I'm a human. What I got to do to get it through to you? I'm superhuman and innovative. Whatever the other lyrics are, right? Cool. So when we scream, when we do, man, I want to do it. I want to do the highs, but I know that because my throat is. This is an important moment of vocal health in action, folks. If you are sick, if your voice has been scratchy, you've been coughing a lot, you got to resist the urge, because I would love to just do some rapid fire highs for you. but I'm not going to. I'm going to be good. I'm going to set a good example. But that even airflow, one way you can think about even airflow is by taking the breath in nice and low, right? Expanding the ribs, expanding the abdominal muscles. And then when we vocalize, squeezing the abs, Melissa Cross called it the dump, squeezing the abs a little bit so we get pressure inside our abdominal cavity, right? You can see my head actually lifts up a little bit when I do that. What that's going to create is that's going to create a pressure, a drawing of the, a drawing in, and that airflow is going to come out evenly because you're going to be creating a little bit of air pressure rather than breathing the vocal out or pushing the vocal out, right? And so you can hold notes fairly steadily when you're doing that. That was a little bit of a tangent, so I'm going to get back to the song because we've probably already had like half of the people hit back button by now. But that's all right. That's all right. I talk about what I want to because it's my channel, dagnabbit. But anyways, yeah, so even airflow, great example of that here. Lots of great breathing exercises out there for it. One of my favorite exercises to use with students is Farinelli breathing. You can also Google it. It's a little bit tricky just to put everything together, but it's super helpful. All right, here we go. That's enough of that. Here we go. Nice. Yeah, I like that narration at the end. Very Carrick Angren, especially the trill of the R. Right? That was really cool. That was really nice. Really nice. Good narrative distortion there, using his speaking voice, or the level of his speaking voice, to do some storytelling. Very interesting to end. I mean, obviously ending on a like really nice, like heavy ambient breakdown makes a lot of sense. It's, you know, it's a good way to do it. But ending, I know, he had some big screams, but like the last like vocal focus was narrative. Interesting. That's kind of weird, but I really like it, and I think it worked, especially leading into those ambient moments. And again, you know, Mr. Barber does what he wants, and I like that. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I feel like he gets in front of the mic and he literally at no point thinks like, well, what is this famous vocalist doing? He just does shit that sounds cool. And I really like that. And of course, you know, he fits the genre. He is clearly a deathcore vocalist, but I think he's a deathcore vocalist who breaks the mold a little bit. And for that, I appreciate him. Anyways, okay, so that is Chelsea Grin, Origin of Sin. Great song. Might be one of the favorites in a while. I know it doesn't look like it because I don't feel good. I'm kind of like monotone right now. But yeah, that was a really good song. I really appreciate the guys in the band writing it and releasing it. And that's all I got. If you enjoy the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I love watching the channel grow. Come make fun of me in our Discord server, because apparently I'm an orc with like tusks now. I'll be real, I don't fully understand the orc thing. I've had it explained to me and I still don't fully get it. Coming out and listening parties, it's a lot of fun. And as always, many thanks, much love. I'm out.